Hi, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to Pittsburgh CLO's Close-Ups. I'm Olivia O'Connor. I'm the manager of new work development at Pittsburgh CLO, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube for our bi-weekly episode of Close-Ups. Now, if you've been paying close attention, you might have noticed we switched up that bi-weekly, skipped a week, did an episode last week, and we're back again. Keeping you on your toes, audience. So if you missed last week's episode, it was a great Oklahoma reunion hosted by Mark. You can find that episode on our website, our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. If you missed it, check it out. It is super, super fun. And if you're joining us live right now, hi, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Please say hi in the comments so we know that you're watching. We love knowing who's out there in the ether. And if you have a question while you're watching today, please feel free to drop it into that comment section and we will try to answer it live. So today is a rainy, miserable October 29th. We are 2 days away from Halloween, thus our spooky stage fright episode. And we are also 5 days away from the election on Tuesday, November 3rd. So if you are watching this right now and you haven't yet made a plan to vote, if you have that mail-in ballot, but you just haven't gotten to fill it out yet, stop watching right now and make that plan to vote, fill out that ballot, and choose the time that you are going to drop it off at the elections office. For so many of us, this is the first year that we're voting by mail or voting early. And so there are a lot of questions. If you are not sure what to do if you made a mistake on your ballot, if you're not sure if you can still vote in person and you have that mail-in ballot, go to votespa.com. That's votespa.com. It's Pennsylvania's official election information website, and it is a great place to check or double check to make sure that all of your voting information is correct. So given that, I am so excited to tell you about our show today. We actually have more guests on today's Close-Ups episode than we ever had before. That's why we got started a few minutes late. We were letting everyone into StreamYard, and it was an adventure. So we're so happy to have all of these folks with us. We have 2 segments on the show today. In our first, we are going to be joined by some CLO faculty members, and we hope, if he can make it on, a longtime CLO stage manager. And in our second segment, we are going to have a mini reunion with members of the cast and creative team of the Double Threat Trio. It's going to be a super fun episode. I can't wait. So first, our first guests. I'm so excited to welcome Alex Manalo and Katie Brown. And I hope, if he can make it through the tech jumble to get on us, Tim Brady, who's a longtime stage manager. Like I said, Katie and Alex are CLO faculty. Tim's a longtime CLO stage manager, but they do so much more than that too. Alex teaches both in our academy and in our creative vision program. She's also a teaching artist at Pittsburgh Public Theater and a performer all around town. You might recognize her from CLO's A Musical Christmas Carol. Katie, in addition to her teaching at CLO, is also a frequent accompanist and music director at theaters and universities all over Pittsburgh. You might have seen her behind the piano in Forever Plaid last year. And Tim, in addition to being our stage manager at the CLO Cabaret, is an alum of every single CLO stage, including our Gallery of Heroes program. So we are going to welcome them on in. I can't wait to talk with them about this huge topic of stage fright today. Let's say hi to Alex and Katie. Hi. And I'm not sure, I don't think Tim made it in yet, but Tim may surprise us during this conversation. So a little excitement, a little Halloween jump scare to have Tim Brady join us late. So Alex, Katie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to see your faces. So to kick us off, tell us where you're joining us from today and how you're doing right now in this crazy world. Alex, I'll send it over to you first.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm in Pittsburgh right now, the gloomy Pittsburgh that you described, and hanging in. This is some crazy times, and we're all just doing the best we can. So it's good to be here.
Thank you for being here. Hi, Katie. Where are you joining us from today?
I just live a little north of the city in Hampton, so yeah, kind of close, but still missing downtown and all the theaters that we're all used to doing. So, but yeah, trying to stay busy, still working. I work at Carnegie Mellon, so we have a bunch of stuff going there. We're still learning how to do musical theater, so I worked this morning with Janine Tesori,
Wow, amazing.
who wrote 30 Million, Fun Home, and Shrek and all that stuff. So we're doing a show with her in a couple weeks. So there's still some fun stuff going on. It's just not on stage at the minute. So.
Yeah. The positive side of all of this digital theater world is that everyone is much more available to join because you don't have to take, a plane ride to be a part of something anymore, which we're really grateful for today because we've got some folks joining from different places too.
Yeah.
So Alex and Katie, we're talking about stage fright today. And I feel like if you're watching at home and you hear that term, you might think of a performer like freezing right before they go on stage in front of a full house. And that's definitely one aspect of stage fright. That's part of it. But I want to ask you too about stage fright in the classroom and how you see nerves or fear in your students, in your private lessons, Katie, and how you help your students cope with that in the performance world.
Yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of kids, especially if they're new, it's part of that just getting comfortable with, performing and singing in front of people. You can sing at home, but it's not the same as singing in front of a strange lady. So I just let them know that I'm there to help them grow, and like we'll both be comfortable being uncomfortable and learning how to like get ourselves, learning and everything. But I also think I always let them know that I will never let them embarrass themselves if I can help it. Right. So I'm honest with them and give them every tool that they need to be successful. But you really just want all the kids want to know is that they're going to be okay. So if you can like help give them every tool to be okay and let them know that, they're talented, they can do it. They have everything they need inside them. It's a lot of times they just need some more confidence. So that's good.
Yeah, it's exciting this week, past 2 weeks at for Creative Vision. For people that don't know, CLO teaching artists, we go into Propel charter schools. So we're at Propel Montour right now, which is exciting, and we're doing auditions. So it's perfect, this segue. We're talking about how it's okay to be nervous and how to channel that energy, because these are some kids that have never maybe even spoken in front of their class before. We teach K through 5. And I say, deep breaths go a long way, not just like the real quick. I say like a good belly breath, give it a good belly breath before they say their lines. And it speaks volumes to them, just not just for auditions, but we relate these to, they go on and grow older and go through job interviews and things. It's really exciting to see them process that nerves are okay. And I'm going to use them into some good energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine too that you have students who are doing this for the first time. Like you said, they may not have said these lines before, or a parent signs their kiddo up for class and they really are confident in ballet, but they've never tried tap or jazz. And so that fear of the unknown or fear of the new, I imagine, comes up in an educational context a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important that I tell them too that I get scared before every single show. And even if I'm at the cabaret doing a run that's 3 months long, I'll still get butterflies before every single show. But it's learning to live with them and to work with them and be okay, be comfortable feeling, know that they're there. No, and I would never want to go to a show or to a job where I don't feel those butterflies. Like that's part of the fun after you've done it for a long time is, it's a living thing. It's really fun. So I tell them like, eventually this will be fun. The feeling will be cool. You'll be okay with it. You know how to handle it. It's good. So, but I tell them like those nerves don't go away. It's just something that you get used to and you figure out how to work with. So
I'm glad you said that, Katie, because I had a nightmare about this show last night. Like, no joke. Before our stage fright show, I had a nightmare that this show went horribly wrong. And I get nervous every time we do these. And Alex, standing in front of a studio, like that's a lot of responsibility. Katie leading a music rehearsal with a new group of people is a lot of responsibility. So Alex, like Katie, do you still feel nerves as a teacher, even in these kind of like behind the scenes roles?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I think that, like Katie was saying, the more relatable we are, because the kids are like, you don't understand. And it's like, well, actually, we do understand. And they truly don't go away. And I was thinking about, standing in front of a studio, not so much stage fright, but it is kind of nerve wracking being in front of a class and reading the room and seeing, some on my Saturdays with my 6 and 7-year-olds, I'm like, the whole lesson plan I had for today, it's just going to be tossed out the window because maybe they're sleepy or they have so much energy that you just have to do a 180 with everything you had prepared for the week. And then it's just like, going to scrap that and do something totally different on the fly. So that's something also in front of us. It still gives you the butterflies in those moments too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you both, I think, touched on auditioning, which is a big one in terms of nerves and fear. And Alex, as a performer, you've been in many, many audition rooms. And Katie, as an accompanist and music director, I know actors are always really happy when they come into an audition and they see that Katie is playing. So
Yes.
you've been in so many audition rooms. So either from actually auditioning or from watching all of those auditions happen, what lessons have you taken away from that experience? And what would you want to convey to folks who are not sure how to deal with nerves in an audition context?
I can go. I just know that the funny thing is we, like everybody behind the table and in the room, everybody wants everyone to do really well. Like the best thing is when someone comes in and does a great job. And every person who comes in, you hope that they do well. Like nobody wants you to do poorly. You don't want to do bad. We don't want you to do bad because it's fun to see people who can get past any of their, the nerves, the fast heartbeat and all that stuff, and just do what they're good at doing. So we want you to do well as much as you do, and we'll really do anything that we can do to help you is really important for us. And I've been in a lot of rooms where we're thinking, okay, we're still looking for like they really are looking for parts that they haven't filled. And even people who come in and it's surprising, like you think you know what a person is going to do, and then they come in and do something completely different, and it's great. So everybody in that room wants you to do well. So it's good to remember.
Marion is saying hello, Alex and our Miss Katie. Hi, Marion, and I love your cat picture.
She's the best. I miss seeing her at the academy. They're one of our parents she's a grandparent, but they're always in the in the waiting room and everything. There are people who we see every week.
Thanks for saying hi, Marion. Alex, do you want to chime in on what you've learned from auditioning?
Yeah, something I also tell my students is, with everything you do, with every audition you go to, it's a learning experience. So, you can't change the past. Once it's done, it's done. You reflect on it and think, I didn't do so well that time. So what could I have done differently, Or if I nailed that, you can kind of live in that. So once it's done, you put it out in the universe and there it is, and you learn from it. So I always relay that to my students too.
Yeah. Katie, you mentioned that for you, butterflies have never gone away, but you've kind of learned to incorporate them. Has your relationship, whether Katie, you want to expand on that, or Alex, you want to jump in, how has your relationship to stage fright or nerves or anxiety or imposter syndrome, or like however we want to think of that, right? How has that changed over time from when you first started out to now?
Yeah, I think definitely in college when I was performing on my own, it was horrifically scary. But having now, time has passed, and I found that I rely a lot on the people around me, where if I can count on them, I know that they're solid, so I'll be solid. And I wish Tim was here, because Tim Brady, he's the best stage manager in the world. Like I always say, anything could happen, and he'll take care of it. It's calm. Everything's fine. Everything is good. And I know, like Plaid, whenever we were doing Forever Plaid, I told him, we went over to his house like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, Tim, I miss seeing you before every show, because I would stand and wait he would give me a cue to walk out on stage and start the show. And every day I knew that when he would start the show for 90 minutes, everything was perfect. Like no matter what happened, even if like stuff went crazy on stage, it was fine. For 90 minutes, everything in the world went away, and it was great. So just like surrounding yourself with people. And there's been times on stage at the Cabaret and at the Pit, at the Benedum, at the Pit at other theaters where, the people around you help you out. And so that kind of, I can be as nervous as I want, but I know the people around me are either not nervous or we're all kind of in it together. So I think that knowing that everybody else has your back is kind of a really it's an important thing that I've learned to like use as I got older.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Alex?
When I was young, I was actually very painfully shy. And that's how I got into theater. So I started my first summer camp was in 4th grade. So I've been going to the academy for the past 16 years of my life.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it's been a long time with CLO. And yeah, I learned to find my voice in theater and singing and just being expressive in so many creative performing arts ways that, yeah, the nerves over time, you still get those butterflies. I think that's just part of being human. And you do just rely on the people around you. I love how Katie said that you do surround yourself with people who also love theater, who want you to do a good job. No one wants to say, like says, I want to see them fail. They want you to do great. So it just, you put that nervous energy into your performance or into nailing that audition.
Yeah.
Definitely redirecting it, I think, is important.
Yeah. Well, and I love the idea that we don't hold all the responsibility for ourselves, that we don't have to be so individualistic. We can say, this community is going to hold me up and I trust them. And I will speak on Tim's behalf just for a second, because I actually saw him last weekend and we were talking about stage fright. And he said that still the night before he starts a new show process, he can't sleep. So even this person who, like, for Katie, feels like a rock and feels so calm, they're also carrying this feeling of anxiety, and we all do to some extent. So I feel like that's really valuable to know that we all have it, but we all carry it through.
Yeah. I remember there was a show, a big show, and I won't say which one, and I won't say where, but it was tough, and it was like down to the wire. So we had really kind of run the whole show only like 1.5 times. So but the conductor, he looked at me right before we started, and he goes, "I'm scared," like, because I sit right next to them, and like they're like within, I can reach and touch them. And I was telling him, me too. And then we just started the show and it was fine and everything was good. But like at one point, like everybody feels it. Like you're going to feel scared, and even things go wrong. Like it's not like there's been a lot of things that go wrong. So, but that's kind of where people step in and help each other and, save the day. And there's been a couple people who save the day who I've like bought a pie for. One guy like helped me with my headphones and like went out and I was playing. So I like bought a pie. I was like, thank you. Yeah. So, but everybody helps each other, and that's what makes theater so fun, because you're all in it together. You're all making one show. So, and for an audition, everybody's wants you to do well. So we're kind of all in it together.
Yeah. Alex, do you have any memories of things going wrong in performance that you kind of had to just muscle through and get to the end?
Gosh, yes. I mean, I feel like everyone has. But I was in a show once. And when you're backstage, and I think it was probably like the dress rehearsal before opening, and everyone's on edge. We're just getting our costumes down, getting all these pieces. And backstage, I thought I missed my cue to run on. So never run backstage, friends, because I took off running and I was just tall enough to hit this set piece that had a balcony. And you just hear me thwacking my head off of it and fly. It was like birds and stars all around my head kind of moment. And they were like, let's hold. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good. Never run backstage. And I just let, my excited energy get the best of me, but the show must go on. And I'm not concussed. So thank God.
Oh God, I'm glad. That's really
Definitely.
Yeah. So Alex, you mentioned the value of deep breathing and not just like the second, and then go out. Are there other tips that either you use yourselves or you recommend to students to kind of gather yourself and reground yourself when you're feeling really stressed out?
Yeah, definitely. I tell my students about the star pose. There's a TED Talk where if you stand in like open position in the waiting room. I do this and people are like, what is that girl doing? But the more closed off you are and nervous, you're just letting all the nerves go through you so much quicker. But if you stand with your arms outstretched and your legs up open, just give you that breathing for like 3 minutes, it'll give you so much more confidence than if you're, just fidgeting and looking around in the waiting room. So I use that tip a lot. I do that myself too.
That's a great tip. I actually watched that TED Talk, and there was like a study where people who did that pose before job interviews actually do better in job interviews because they're bringing that confidence with them.
Yeah, I love that TED Talk.
Yeah. Katie, what about you? What are your
there's a couple things. Now, usually everything can be happening before the show, but in the couple minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes before the show starts, I try and like go to my spot, get my stuff ready, make sure I'm ready to go. So like you have to take a minute to kind of like take off the rest of your day and the rest of the world, and kind of put yourself in that focus zone because you have stuff to do. So whether it's an audition, whether it's, so it's a lot of focus. So just like centering yourself, not letting anything else, come in, and just like realizing what you have to do is take a couple minutes before you do it. Like, don't talk to people, just get your stuff together. When I was in college though, I had really bad stage fright because I was playing really hard stuff and it was memorized and all these horrible things. So, and I had performed since I was little, but when I was little, I didn't care. But when I was in college, it was getting harder. So one of my teachers, I was really struggling in my junior year, and he actually is the trumpet player for the CLO. Steve Hawk, I don't know, he's in Las Vegas now, but he still plays in our pit, Dr. Hawk. He and his wife were really instrumental in helping me in college. And so he said that he gives his students his book, and it's called The Inner Game of Music. And it's written by a guy who wrote The Inner Game of Tennis, which talks about, like the stuff that goes on in your head when you're trying to concentrate on music or on a sport, and how to kind of get rid of that. So there was like a whole bunch of suggestions on what to do. And one of them is about breathing. And that's one of the big things, like whenever, breathing will help to calm you down. But that book like changed my life in college. So yeah, he was the one who kind of like got me through that tough stage fright part. So The Inner Game of Music is, from him. So.
Nice. I have to check that out. And I want to circle back to something, Alex, that you said where you're teaching students these skills, and regardless of whether or not they go on to a career in the performing arts, this stuff is going to serve them, right? There are so many applications. And of course, people in other fields feel nervous. The performing arts don't own stage fright, right? It's scary in any field. But I want to ask you too, and I'm going to ask our next group of guests this question as well, because I think it's an important one, which is, how have these lessons that you've learned as performers, as artists, how have they changed how you approach other parts of your life outside of the theater world?
Oh, that's a deep one.
A good one.
Oh my gosh, Olivia. I would say, I think, but growing up, I was very reluctant to try new things. So having nerves and, dealing with them is kind of like a leap of faith, right? Like I'll use this analogy. I used to think I was scared of roller coasters. And am I frozen? Did I freeze?
You were frozen for 1 second.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of suspense, though. It really built up.
Leave you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
But I was saying, analogy. I used to be scared of. I thought I was scared of roller coasters. So having those nerves, some people even get jittery before they go on a roller coaster still. But you take that leap of faith, you ride it. Your stomach might drop. You feel crazy things, but then when you're done, you're like, wow. That was exhilarating. That was exciting. So I've learned to try new things and to take that leap of faith a lot more because, you take a leap of faith every time you walk into an audition room, every time you're in front of a class. So I think, that applies to more than just theater. It applies to life in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Katie,
Yeah,
how about you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I tell my students all the time that if they can get up and sing a song in front of a person, they can walk into any interview and talk. Like there's nothing, the nerves are all the same, right? And you're still presenting something for people. And I think that one of the biggest things is that building self-confidence, especially in musical theater and any business, you have to know what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to believe that you're actually good at it, because people will make you, you'll doubt that sometimes. And the way to not be nervous is, at least with some things, you have to know that you're really good at something. So, or like, there's some strength you can draw on to say, well, this part might be scary, but this other part is not that scary. So it just is kind of something to anchor kids, especially onto, so that they can say, well, I'm not going to worry about this part, at least, So just like having that confidence in yourself that you can do it, and, you have to believe it, and then actually get it done. So I think that those are transferable skills for everything you're going to do.
Yeah, that's a great point, that self-confidence is a big part of this. You do have to believe in yourself. And I feel like also inherent in what you said, Katie, is preparation. Like, you have control over that, right? You might not have control about how you feel, but you have control of those hours that you put in advance to know that you really prepared for this.
Right. And like limiting those variables that can go wrong. Or, you always want to, like, whatever you can do to make sure that you're going to be successful, is something that you can latch onto to make you, trust that you're going to be all right to get through it. So, yeah.
It was so great talking with you both. Thank you for joining us to talk about stage fright. And I'll say, if you're watching at home and you're like, I was here for the Tim Brady perspective, and I'm mad that he's not here, we will get him on another episode, because I actually think that stage managers are a wealth of theater industry knowledge and perspective. So don't worry, we're going to get Tim back here. And I'm so grateful for Alex and Katie joining us today. If you're an Academy student, I'm sure you will see them soon, either virtually or in person. And likewise, I'm going to be there on Saturday, so I'll see you both virtually or in person on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks Olivia. This was fun.
All right, bye, Alex. Bye, Katie. All right, folks. So in our next segment, we are so lucky to have the entire cast of the Double Threat Trio joining us, as well as the show's director, Scott Weinstein. The Double Threat Trio was developed in CLO's 2018 Spark Festival, and it went on to be produced in 2019 in the CLO Cabaret. The show has book, music, and lyrics by the brilliant Adam Overett. And we actually talked with Adam on a previous episode of Close-Ups. We chatted with him on Spark the Conversation back in April. So I highly recommend that you check out that episode. Again, as always, it's on our website, on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. And in that conversation with Adam, we talked about the show, we talked about his career. He even performs for us. It's a delightful conversation and a great companion piece to the conversation we're about to have with some other members of the team. So the reason we're reuniting with the Double Threat team today is not just because we love them and want to see their faces, although we do, but it's also because this show really dives into stage fright in many, many ways. It's a really fun and funny show, but there are also some real emotions there in terms of shyness, the fear of not being perfect, the fear of trying something new, the fear of disappointing our families or of not being supported by our families. And of course, it ends with this insane, amazing show within a show where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. So I'm really excited to talk about the show with the people who actually work out there every night doing it. So with that, we are going to welcome Michelle Duffy, Jeremy Rodriguez, Drew Lee Williams, J. Alex Noble, Mike Greer, Audra Qualley, and Scott Weinstein. Look at these people pouring in here.
Oh my God.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, it's so good to see your faces.
This is the group, you guys.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here. We have like I said, we have a full house on StreamYard today on our streaming platform. So thank you all for joining. It's so great to see your little squares. And oh my goodness, Mike Greer has a special guest. So let's go around and say who we are, what we did on Double Threat. And Mike Greer, I'm going to put it to you first, friend.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I am Mike Greer. I was the swing on Double Threat. You never saw me actually on the stage, but I did know both roles incredibly well. I was ready to go at a moment's notice. I was incredibly pleased to know that Alex and Jeremy were incredibly solid and showed up every night. And this is my lovely little new addition, Maple Rose.
Oh my God.
She just turned 10 months. And I'm on babysitting duty, so Maple's joining us for the call. It's great to see all your faces.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Mike. And hi, Maple Rose. So good to see you, friend. So, Michelle, I'll send it over to you next. Tell us who you are, where you're joining us from, and what you did on Double Threat.
Hi, I am Michelle Duffy, and I am coming to you live from just south of Pittsburgh in my hometown of Wheeling, West Virginia, where I am waiting out some of this shutdown next to my family. And I was the insane lady in Double Threat Trio. That's who I was. Yeah, wonderful.
So good to see you, Michelle. Jeremy, where are you joining us from today, friend?
I'm joining from Austin, Texas. I played Kenny, and yeah.
Welcome, Jeremy. Drew Lee, hello. And we've seen Drew Lee on close-ups before. We are so lucky to have her back on this episode. You might have seen her singing on a previous episode.
Third time's a charm, though.
Yep.
I'm hailing from the very rainy Pittsburgh. Hi, Maple.
Maple's saying hi to everybody. And Drew Lee, who were you in Double Threat? Oh, Adam Overett. Hi, Adam. Adam Overett. And with that profile picture, Adam Overett.
Shirtless Adam Overett.
So Adam, of course, is the creator of this amazing show. Thank you for watching, Adam. So glad to know you are out there.
He does wear a shirt in life most of the time.
Most of the time. And J. Alex Noble, where are you joining us from today?
Hi there. I'm J. Alex Noble. I played Jameson, and I am also in rainy Pittsburgh in the Greenfield neighborhood.
Nice. Audra.
Hello. I am joining you from also rainy New York City. And I was the female swing on the show, and it was a blast.
Yay. And we have Audra's parents tuning in. Hi, John. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Oh my God, so cute.
Oh, thanks for joining, Mom and Dad. And Scott, last but not least.
Hi, I'm also joining from rainy New York City up in Harlem.
Oh my God,
I was the director. What?
Should we go get a drink?
Yeah. There's so much to do right now.
I know.
So thank you all for joining. It's so, you can tell there's a lot of excitement for this reunion. We're so happy to have everybody here. I want to first throw it out to anyone in the group or everyone in the group who would like to answer. What about Double Threat? Whether it's your own character's journey, something else in the show, what about Double Threat resonated with you as an artist? In regards to stage fright, we're keeping it in stage fright world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll jump in on something before I see Audra's like dying to get in there.
I know it's that thing with the Zoom meetings where everyone starts and like, oh no, you go ahead.
Should I?
Please.
So, for me, with my character, he was very self-confident and very sure of himself, but like underneath all of that was this, what am I doing? I can't do anything right. None of this is what it should be. And this frustration. And I think that my stage fright per se, I don't suffer, I don't get nervous anymore. Sometimes I get nervous, but like for me, there's always that little voice back there that's like, am I good at what I do? Like the whole imposter syndrome sort of needed, like checking in and being like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I this is what I do. And like just quieting that voice back there and being like, no, shut up. You're just out. Go away. Like, I got this. But I don't know. That's definitely something that I identified with my character with, that like I have dealt with as a performer.
Yeah, that voice is persistent sometimes. Audra, you wanted to jump in?
Oh, it's just kind of like but I mean, every day was stage fright as the female swing. Every day had a little bit of like edge to it of like, what's going to happen today? And what do I need to work on today? Like, what am I going to be when I would go through the show every night backstage? Like, what part am I going to totally forget? And is that going to then happen if or when I have to go on? Like, you just start to keep track of these mistakes you're making. And so every day was on the edge, but I think as actors, we all kind of live for that, like a little bit. So it was.
And of course, in a little bit of art imitating life, you went on for the Crazy Lady on opening night. With
going on for the Crazy
2 hours
Lady
of rehearsal
was, probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my whole life. I was terrified.
I was so happy to be a part of that moment. It was incredible, and I had such pride watching my fellow swing just go on stage opening night and literally kill it. I have never seen someone just step up to the plate and just hit a grand slam just so effortlessly, and just seeing all of you guys work together in that moment and supporting her at the same time. It was just such, I mean, we obviously missed you, Michelle, and wish you nothing but the best. It was an incredible moment to be a part of. I was incredibly proud of us.
Yeah, teamwork is really what saves the day. Anytime you have any type of stage fright, mishaps on stage, something falls over, someone drops a piece of paper, it's like that ensemble, that everyone coming together and working together as a team to fix it and get back on track. That was like the most, this experience was the most that I have ever experienced that in my life on stage.
That really
that
is
was
what
awesome.
the show is about too. So it kind of resonated on a lot of levels.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Other folks who found something particularly resonant in Double Threat in their own lives or artistic lives?
I think we had developed, over the course of a year, more of a backstory for Nina, who is now known as Nina, the shy girl. And I kept joking that I am Nina. Nina is me. But I think what resonated really well was just a person who wants to only do what they feel they're really confident in and great at, and is terrified to do something where they feel they may fall short in. But learning that unless you try the things that you're falling short in, you're never going to learn and grow from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a scary, close to home kind of role. And it was also just terrifying to sing the entire range in tessitura that I had every day, and being terrified of, having to be very focused on where placement was coming from. And are these notes going to work today? Are they not? Mixed in with a shy person and a really difficult vocal track. It was humbling, and it was an experience that I can't wait to tell my kids and their grandkids.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember hearing that song Shy Girl for the first time, and it just kind of being magic, that character locking into place of why is this person so afraid to move outside of their comfort zone. And that song really illustrates it in a beautiful way. And I think, Jeremy, your character's song, Just Dance, is coming at this in a different way, but too, the fear of disappointing our families, or the fear of not getting validation, the kind of validation that we want as artists, as performers, with something that I know resonated really deeply with audiences who saw this show. We received a lot of feedback about that song.
Just Dance.
Just Dance. Yes, beautifully performed by Jeremy Rodriguez.
Oh, thank you. It is kind of weird, it came up today too, and it's also something scary, is changing your idea of success, especially if you're an artist or if your parents have been paying for your training or something, and having this shift and redefining, and even as a performer for myself, for Broadway not to be the end all be all of your training as a performer, and redefining that, which happened to me in school. And which also came along with my first anxiety attack, which was also lovely to think about. But it really did curve things for like 7 years. It was like dealing with this thing, and it was anxiety about anxiety, not about anything in particular, but is this going to happen again? And then it was breath work and watching that TED Talk. Even like blind people, when they do something they're proud of, they like have this victory pose that they do. It's just like inherent as a human being. Like, so I do find myself doing that a lot. Like, I'm here on stage now. And it was actually really nice. Our curtain was closed at the cabaret, which isn't very, at least in my experience, we didn't have a curtain before, but we could be on stage like, we're here and the curtain just has to open, like we're already here. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Every night during the overture, we all had a dance party to sort of get in the mode, in the mood, in the right headspace, get some of those jitters out. During the overture, there we were backstage with the curtain closed, just doing what we had to do to get ready.
Yeah.
Even I, who wasn't on stage, was dancing as I conducted Katie Brown.
I saw a video of you conducting Katie Brown, and I didn't get to see your dance off, but I can picture it.
Oh yeah.
You could only imagine.
I have video footage of the conducting. I wish I'd queued it up to send Olivia so she could play it. It was some brilliant acting.
So I want to dive into, we'll move away from stage fright for a moment and just talk about kind of what you began to touch on, Audra, of attacking a show that you'd never done in person before and hadn't really had rehearsal time for. To talk about obstacles, unexpected obstacles that happen in live performance. So this show ends with a show within a show in which everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Missed cues, incorrect tempos, sets falling apart, actors just like not doing deciding they're not doing the show that night. Like, oh, look at this.
Oh my God. You guys.
Those props.
Oh my goodness.
Was terrifying learning that show within a show. Oh my God.
It's crazy. And of course we had like scary moments and mishaps in the run of Double Threat, as we always do, but are there other things when you look back on your careers, other memorable moments of onstage obstacles, rehearsal obstacles that you overcame and triumphed, or you didn't, and you still survived?
I'm still working on Jameson's track for the show with me. So
one day, Mike, we're gonna call on you, and we're gonna expect you to remember it. I would love to see the one man version of Double Threat through my career's eyes. Yeah.
Well, I could definitely say that as far as things that go wrong, my character in the show within the show got the crap beat out of him, and much of it was his own fault. But just hitting the head and fall down, he's not doing what he's supposed to do, and this, that, and the other. I have absolutely been hit in the head and punched in the face, and have been hit with set pieces and that kind of thing, where it's like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but something goes wrong, or somebody's extra juiced up one night and you're doing a stage fight, and then all of a sudden there you are and you've been punched in the face, and you're like, okay, I gotta keep doing the show as best I can.
I do think that like life has a way of imitating art, imitating life, imitating art, and usually on every show something that happens in the show happens. And I do remember there was some point during tech or something where Heather, our stage manager, turned to me and went, "Scott, the column's falling over." And I went, "Oh, okay, good." She's like, "No, the column is falling over." And that was supposed to happen not at that point in the show. But for me, like I don't necessarily get the stage fright of being on stage because I'm off, but I usually get a little bit of stage fright at like a first preview. The first time you get an audience in and you've spent 3 weeks being like, this is great, this thing we're doing is so good, and then the moment like an audience starts coming in, you're like, is it good? Will they like it? Is it gonna and of course that goes away, but there is that like a different kind of stage fright, I think, sitting in the audience and having to let go of control, especially on a show like Double Threat, or where it's so involved and you sort of have to like cede that that control and let what happens happen.
Well,
Like,
now with
and-
like Zoom readings, I feel like the audience isn't there. Like, am I funny? Is this landing?
Yep.
do not
Who would know?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's always like when you're on stage and things go wrong, to be surrounded by smart actors who can like, you know, pick it up quickly and turn it around is always like the goal. But, you know, sometimes things are beyond your control. And at that point, it's kind of like the audience loves when things go wrong. They like love that. They love to see the actors like acknowledge it. Like, oh. They like, that is like, I can think of going to see shows where something has gone wrong, and those are like some of the most memorable experiences that I have as an audience member. Like, oh my God, the car didn't come out on stage, and this guy said something really funny. Like, that's, even though it feels horrible, like as an actor in the moment, like that's something the audience is they're like, oh, I saw the special performance where she did this and then she had to recover. Like, the audience, they love that. So
yeah,
it's not all bad sometimes.
Or half the time they don't even realize something's gone wrong, and you're like,
That's
oh my
true.
God, I can't believe that, like, they skipped that whole scene, and someone's like, I don't know, I noticed.
I don't know, no idea.
I think sometimes we don't even realize that something has gone wrong or we've forgotten something. Jeremy, if I may, Jeremy had to underdress with some boxers over his leotard. And this was later on in the run. And later on, you know, there are some, especially like on a two doche where you're kind of on autopilot, maybe on the first show or the second, you know, you had too big of a dinner and you're a little like lethargic for the second one. But Jeremy was to wear these boxers under his toga, and he had a leotard on as well. But he steps up on a chair, and I look because the front row patrons are like, they're pointing at Jeremy's, and I'm like, well, he has nice legs. And then I realize it's because he doesn't have his boxers on. He just has a green leotard on. And lovely Tim Brady, who was the assistant stage manager, is running back and forth because we are entering and exiting so fast off of stage left and right. You see Tim on right with the boxers, and then he runs over to left with the boxers. Jeremy's just like doing his thing and killing it, 110% commitment. Finally, Jer and I get to be upstage in slow-mo doing our show within the show. And I'm like, you're boxers. And he's like, what? You're boxers. And I see Tim off left, and I just went straight hard. Jer goes, oh, and goes on stage, gets his boxers, and we finished the show without as much leg. So that was a memorable moment.
Wow. Oh, Mark. Hi, Mark. Mark, you're supposed to be on vacation this week. Mark says, can Michelle look at a hat after doing double threat and not have a little anxiety? Great question, Mark.
No. I used to wear so many more hats than I do now. I can't. It's a very selective, you know, process for me.
Oh my God.
Hat racks are even worse. It's the rack. Yeah, more than the hats.
No more coat trees.
Anytime I would look to like off stage in the rehearsal hall, you'd be with that hat rack and the hats, and I'd be rehearsing a scene. I'd look over and see you being like, no. So I felt for you so hard.
I have a picture of Michelle where she's just like this with like 6 hats, and she's just like.
And of course, like the way the show worked, if you got behind, they just started piling up. There was
wild.
Off a hat. There was no escape.
It was a level of flop in the hat, because then I wouldn't get on and get off, and it's like, can we just all have top hats and like things that I just have to grab and, you know.
And the weirdest
some of the lyrics that were created in rehearsal for that number were fantastic by Michelle. I said some of the lyrics you created while doing that number in rehearsal were hilarious.
This is what I'm saying, is you have to have smart actors to be able to do some of this stuff, because like we would have never made it through. It's just like,
right,
you gotta choose on it.
Well, and going back to oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, I was gonna say we just had like the craziest conversations and talking about like be like, well, this hat needs more flop. This hat needs less flop. This hat needs more.
So
It was just like the
specific.
weirdest conversations. It's
The
great.
hooks, like the hook,
Yeah.
it took us 15 tries to get the hooks of the actual hat rack, like to
Yeah.
work with us.
Oh my
You
god.
remember the styrofoam balls?
Yeah.
Yeah, a million.
They just-
We had to have a million different tries
just
to get
pop
hats to
off.
come
It's
off
like-
and on quickly.
It was like the electric company ping pong ball thing. I just like it was just like things are bouncing all over.
It's like the lottery balls. Like
That's it. That's a better one.
It was truly
Y'all
a
are, y'all are
team.
too young for electric company.
It was really a team effort. And if you're watching this and you're like, I don't get it, like what was so hard about this hat
Right.
prop? Michelle played multiple characters, or rather multiple personalities of a single character, and had to wear a different hat for each line that was spoken by a different personality. And Adam Overett wrote this brilliant script in which she's sometimes switching off from line to line to line. And talk about preparation, like the amount of hat choreography that went into this to make sure that you could make those transitions in 0.5 seconds is truly, truly amazing. So I'm sorry that we traumatized you, Michelle, for life. Clearly,
I still have the pad where I had like a map. I had like 10, 11 pages of a color coded map of like what hat was at what point on the rack, at which point I threw it to whom, and like it's hieroglyphics. I think
I was just gonna
get
say
it now.
that your script was a work of art.
Yeah,
It really was.
in addition to knowing the lines and all that, you still had to we had it broken down to like, on this word, take one step that way and reach out with hand. On this word, grab other hat and take other, like it had to be that specific. And it was like, I don't know how you both of you managed to do that, but it was very impressive.
So they were talking about leap of faith before in the first segment, and it's that thing. It is this show in particular was a lesson for me every day of something's going to go wrong, something's not going to work, something's going to be, and like you gotta let it. You've got to let it, and that was never a thing that was easy for me earlier on in my life. And this, I like having to a lot of lessons happening from this, so that we're good. We're just sort of like, just keep going and it's going to be fine. And these wonderful people around me are going to, be brilliant, and nobody's going to notice because they're going to pick it up. So that was really important.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And thank you for saying that, Michelle, because that leads me to the question that I teased I was going to pose to all of you, which is, how have these lessons that you've learned about stage fright, about overcoming this fear, about messing up and then surviving to the next day, how has that impacted the way that you approach the rest of your life? I mean, especially right now, as we're all facing so much uncertainty, in our world. How have you taken those lessons to other parts of your world?
For me, I don't forget them. Like, I remember that I did that crazy thing back then. I can handle this. I have a handful of things where I'm like, you did that, you can do this. And so it's just remembering what you've overcome a lot of times. And then breathing.
Yeah, this for me, Double Threat was such a, okay, curtain opens, 90 minutes, go. You're shot out of a cannon. There's no minute to take a break. There's no step away. There's no, oh, hi, Dad. There's
Hi, Alex's dad.
there's no there was, you found moments to breathe. The 1 or 2 blackouts there were, the 1 or 2 minutes that you were off stage and you could grab a swig of water and center yourself or find your breath again, or just, be like, okay, and go. It's that idea of just taking those moments when they appear and maximizing that opportunity, while also being completely in it and not losing the flow.
I always attributed preparation as, allowing me to kind of do the work and do the job. But what I found was really interesting during Double Threat was from the first workshop all the way to having only 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks to put the show up for opening. was just trusting myself. And like Audra said, just trusting your brain that there are going to be, and like Michelle said, there are going to be things that go wrong. And that's the way the show is really built. And relinquishing some of that control and just being okay and trusting that you have the brain, you have the training, you know, you're listening, and just go with whatever happens. So I think, and that's what's really helped me with this quarantine isolation too, is just letting go and realizing, you know, what really is at stake. It's not as life or death as it may seem in the show. So just letting go and just trusting and living in each moment. That's what I've really learned from it and taken from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think just trusting the process. I mean, as afraid as I was to go on, I do know that if I would have had to go on, I know it would have happened. Probably better for Jeremy's part than Alex's, but it's okay. But yeah, I think just trusting the process. We did fantastic work in rehearsal. It was sorry for everyone watching, hearing how that's translating. They're like volume.
No, I can hear you. We can hear you. And I want to ask Mike, like, did your performance life prepare you in any way for Parenthood? Since we're joined by Maple today.
Oh, she's the total game changer. I mean, you know, I've done many roles in life, but when you have a little one of these, being a father immediately becomes the best role. So yeah, she is fantastic. But in terms of stage fright, I overcame my stage fright on that Sunday afternoon in April when Jeremy and Alex walked in the door.
that closing performance when he never had to go on.
I shook both of their hands. I hugged them tightly. I thanked them, and I bought them a drink after. Actually, the CLO bought them a drink after, but I pretended like it was my time.
I mean, I just learned that I can do hard things. You know, after so many years of acting and working, even like in your survival job, let's call it, you kind of reach a point of like comfortability, and you kind of reach a place where you're not really feeling challenged. And this show was my first time swinging and learning to lead roles, and I had no idea if I could do it or not. And I just learned that, I think it was kind of what Jeremy was saying, like, you can just trust yourself, you can do hard things. And that just kind of gives me the confidence to continue living my life that way. If I come across something that I've never done before, I'm just going to trust that I can do hard things.
Yeah, I'd say that and surrounding yourself with like people that you trust and who are smarter than you, and that like learning that you don't have all the answers. And I think especially like doing any new musical is like will put that very, very clearly, because there's so many unknowns and things are changing all the time. And you know, it's like when we were doing a workshop, I think I was thinking back to Shy Girl just now, and I think that was written in our second workshop. And it's like we went into that workshop and with a different song there, and like halfway through our week that we had, we were like, this song's not quite doing it. It's not quite working. And so there was like a day where we were like, we don't know what song will be happening in this place in 3 days. And, you know, Adam and I talked about a few things and had some ideas. Then he went away, and within like a day came back with a totally different idea that was way better. And we had a brand new song there that I wrote so quickly. And that stayed in the show kind of like largely unchanged. And just like being able to let go and be like, we don't know what this will be yet. It will make itself clear. And there's something a little like Zen about that. That's nice to remind yourself of.
Yeah. Along those same lines, Scott, is the because it was we had worked on it through the workshop, and it was a new and developing work, continual all the way through rehearsals. I mean, I remember getting lyrics to Thespian's day of opening. There was a whole new verse or a whole new set of lyrics, and it was like, okay, put these in the show for tonight and go. And you're just like, okay, got it, done. Let's make it happen. And you just do it.
And it's so funny too, because I'm sure Adam would talk to this too in terms of like songwriting, but that song and Shy Girl was so the opposite, and that Shy Girl got written like instantly, and like that was the song. And then your song was one that like changed every day for 2 years.
Yeah, it was like in
yeah.
the last couple of weeks, it was, there were new lyrics, there were whole new takes. I
Yep.
still go back to the first version of the song that we had in the first workshop of ACT, where we had,
Oh yeah, totally, 100% different song. Yeah,
it was 110% different song, feeling, tune, emotionness.
Yeah.
But it, you go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is making me feel very hopeful, folks. You've turned an episode about stage fright into something that's actually about like flexibility and adapting and trusting in yourself and trusting other people. And I feel like that is a really, really wonderful note to end on. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving us your time, your talent, so generously sharing with us. It was wonderful to see all of you. And it was wonderful to meet you, Maple Rose. Thank you for joining us, the true headliner of this episode. Thank you all so much. It was wonderful to see you all.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Olivia.
And thank you all so, so much for joining us. This was such a great conversation and such a pleasure to reunite with this team. I wish everyone watching a safe and happy Halloween. And if you are really proud of your costume this year, but you're really sad that not that many people are going to see it, I have great news for you, because we are hosting a costume contest at CLO that is being judged by costume designer Anthony Cirque, who was the costume designer on the Double Threat Trio. It's all coming full circle. You can tag Pittsburgh CLO in your pictures on social media, or if you'd rather email them, you can send them to Pittsburgh CLO Marketing at pittsburghclo.org for a chance to win a CLO prize box. We have already been getting some fantastic submissions, so the competition is fierce, but it is not over. The deadline, as you can see, is November 2nd. So send us your costume pictures. And if you need costume inspiration, you can take it from our Throwback Thursday this week. We are featuring our 2009 production of Into the Woods, which was directed by James Brennan and featured an amazing cast, including Beth Level, Hunter Foster, Sarah Jean Ford, Jennifer Cody, and many others. There are some great fairy tale looks in this B-roll, so take a look if you haven't yet figured out what you're going to be for Halloween. Before we watch, I want to thank, as always, Becca and Sid in our control room, and Becca joining us from the Academy today. Thank you, Becca. Thank you, Sid, so much. Thank you to Steph for our graphics. Thank you to the Double Threat Trio's Adam Ogret for our theme music. Thank you all for being here. Have a great Halloween. Remember to vote, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Into the woods to fetch the things,
to make a potion,
to go to the festival. Into the woods without regret, the choice is made, the task is set. Into the woods, but not forgetting why I'm on the journey. Look at your nails, look at your dress. People would laugh, and nevertheless, you still wish to go to the festival and dance before the prince.
Only just when you've made a friend and all, and you know she's big and you don't feel small, someone bigger than her comes along the hall to swallow you for lunch. And your heart is lead and your stomach's stone, and you're really scared being all alone. And it's then that you long for the things you've left and the world you've known and the little you own. The fun is done. You steal what you can and run.
Only 3 more tries, then we'll have our prize. When the end's in sight, you'll realize if the end is right, it justifies the beans.
One moment, my dear.
Come what may, follow the path and never stray.
Just so, little girl. Any path, so many worth exploring. Just one would be so boring. And look what you're ignoring. If there only were doors, agony, all the torture they teach. What's as intriguing or half so fatiguing as what's out of reach?
Princes wait there in the world, it's true. fences, yes, but wolves and humans too. I am home. Stay at home. It's the last midnight. It's the boom, a splat. Nothing but a vast midnight. Everybody smashed flat.
All the wondering what's even worse is still in store. All the children, all the giants, no more. You've just a finger. Say the slightest word. Something's bound to linger. Be heard. No one acts alone. Careful, no one is alone.